delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I have the joyous task of expressing our gratitude to all those who were instrumental in the fruition of this conference. First of all, thanks to Shri Bhattacharya, Amitabh Bhattacharya, and his team at Bangla for initiating this event, and to our Vice Chancellor for facilitating this collaboration. This conference, with its interesting series of focused discussions and presentations, is an ideal platform to unearth the innate creativity of our aspiring entrepreneurs.
Then we have the three speakers. From my left, Mr. Venkatraman, R. Venkatraman. He is the founder managing director of India Infoline. He has come from Bombay. The second is Suresh Reddy. The gentleman in the middle is a founder chairman of Lycos. I mentioned 1, 2, 3 greetings, that whole journey. And the third is Goa's own, everybody's pride, Mrs. Dr. Subodh Kirkar. So, and a very good friend. And all three are very, very close friends. So, that's another great part, to have friends everywhere. And so, Sue, it's now over to you. And as I mentioned, that everybody will speak for 10 minutes, and then it's open for discussions. Okay?
Yes, welcome to the session Creative Industry. This session is designed to share diverse ideas, thoughts, experiences on creativity in terms of facilitating, empowering, supporting, and also stimulating entrepreneurship in and for the regional development in a narrow sense, but also in the broad sense, national and global economy. We have excellent three speakers and also followed my presentation as well. We have 4 different presentations on different topics. And as Amitabh already said at the beginning, at the introduction section, many Indians think entrepreneurship is the synonym of IT industry. But when you look into the entrepreneurship, what's happening and the phenomenon all over the world, they are different and very diverse sections and sectors and actors. So I think this session will be a perfect opportunity to broaden your perspective on entrepreneurship, and also different and very creative entrepreneurs. How do they do, and what kind of method do they use, and also what kind of mechanisms are working behind the scene. So let me introduce the first presenter, Mr. Suresh Reddy, yes, and the founder and the chairman of Lycos. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sue. Amitabh, thank you very much for getting us here. It doesn't matter where you have your event, we're always there behind you. And it's fantastic to be here amongst all of you. Good morning to you. It's a pleasure to see so many youngsters who are potential entrepreneurs going forward. And also I understand there are a lot of entrepreneurs, teachers, PhDs. So the whole place is rocking with all kinds of very diverse people, I feel. So I'm very, very proud to be speaking to you all today about my journey. Basically, if you look back at my life, my name is Suresh Reddy, as I was introduced. If you look back at my life, I come from a very middle-class family. My dad used to work for the government. He was in the Ministry of Defense at those times. He was also an engineer. So I was exposed to a lot of different places. I was born in Bangalore, went to Hyderabad, went to Delhi, then in Kharagpur. So I think sometimes everything you got and everything you have experienced as a child helps you in various places. So I think I really attribute a lot of things I do today to my background as a child. And I just want to start with a small story. When I was in my 8th grade, just want to talk about key things that actually led me to entrepreneurship today. I was in my 8th standard, till my 7th I was in Bangalore. And then I used to go to a central school in Bangalore, Malaysian 18 Crossroads, that area. And I was probably a below average student or an average student. And one of the big challenges I had was social studies. So even today I struggle with social activities. And main reason was it was in Hindi and my Hindi was really poor. And it was a difficult period. And then when we moved to Hyderabad, we moved from a central school to a state school. And I was moving into a school where social studies was in English. And more importantly, on the first day of school, my dad dropped me in his Vespa scooter, and then I got off. And then he said, you're moving from a central school to a state school. I think you should come first here. I said, what is he talking about? How can I come first in the class? And I was wondering, is this, does he mean it, or is he just saying for the heck of it or whatever? But my little brain could process beyond that, and I believed it. And sure enough, the first exam I took, I came first in the class. And I'm saying that not because out of pride or anything, because I think one of the most important things for entrepreneurship is belief. I think that changed my life in a very big way. When you believe that you can do, when you believe that you can actually take an idea and make it a reality, and when you believe that it can be processed and it can be helping the society at large, whether it is a service, whether it is a product, or any other form of entrepreneurship, it is the first and foremost thing, especially youngsters. We start with a lot of doubt in heart. We wonder, can we actually do this? I have this idea, but I'm not sure if I can do it. I think you can do it. All you have to do is believe in yourself. So I think that is one big lesson I got through from my dad himself. So I felt that was very important to bring it up today. So coming straight to where I am and what I am doing today. So after that, I went on to do well in studies, and I went to IIT where I was, classmates with Venki and Amitabh, and I met a diverse group of people. I think the diversity and the culture exposure was fantastic. Of course, also picked a little bit of Bengali being in Kharagpur. And it was an interesting experience. Post that, I went to the US. But there was always this drive for me to start some company and start some business where I think it will make a difference to the society and bring employment and actually make a difference in my own, bring impact in my own small way. And but obviously we did not have family wealth or anything to back this. So we had to go back. I thought, let me go to the US, have some support, build some money behind myself, and then start a company. So after my college, I basically went to the US, worked at various companies. Then 10 years after I was in the US, I started this company. Just a small correction, Amitabh, it was not 123 Greetings. It was USA Greetings, usagreetings.com. We thought about this idea of having greeting cards being sent online. Those days, today you can send through your WhatsApp, it's no big deal, but when it was early days, that was the .com boom time. I was in the Bay Area at that time. And I felt myself and three other partners, four of us got together. My classmate from IIT Kharagpur, my classmate from school, and my boss at Charles Schwab where I was working at. All four of us got together in San Francisco. And then we dreamt up this idea of sending interesting animated greeting cards. I think Flash was not yet there at that time. It was just animated greetings, and Flash came along the way. And we started to use a global workforce. We put up a small team in Hyderabad. We had a team in Russia which was helping with some creatives. Within a few months, fortunately for us, sometimes luck also plays a big factor. Of course, after belief comes. So we started to get a lot of traction on our greeting cards. A lot of people started using them. And we started getting inbound calls from Yahoo and from Google was still forming. Lycos was a big name of those days. And we started providing greeting card sections for different domains in those days. And we had a team of 50 people in India. We produced close to 10,000 greeting card designs. We had in various languages as well, not just limited to US. So it started with USA greetings, then we had Bharat greetings, we had Japan greetings, Korean greetings. You name it, across the world we had a greeting card site. So that's how we came to existence. And that same company, as market conditions change, there's one more point that I would like to bring out is, we enter entrepreneurship, we enter starting a business with something in mind, but markets sometimes change. And you have to have the openness to go there and actually figure out what to do next. And by the time 2000 came, there was a huge drop in the funds available for advertising online, because the core revenue for us was running ads on our websites while people were using greeting cards. And slowly we were dwindling down on all our resources, and our credit card bill started to pick up. It was a tough period, so we had to reinvent ourselves, and we got into something called email marketing. Because after the post.com, a lot of people were left with users, but there was no way to make money out of it. Monetization was the word. Today demonetization everybody understands, but monetization was a new word those days. And how do you monetize your email list? So we came up with a solution, and we started getting into marketing. And today we are one of the large digital marketing houses in the world. We are in 14 different countries. We are in Israel, we are in South America, we are in the US, we also have offices in Australia. And we consolidated the whole piece around digital advertising and marketing. And along the way, one of the big names that we always used to admire and look at, we were able to buy Lycos in 2010. And we acquired about 10 companies from 2007 to 10 through a lot of venture capital investment banking, investment that came through into the company, using about $100 million that we were able to raise. And so we spread out digital marketing house centered around Hyderabad and Israel. I have a large team today in Israel that actually helps me do this. And there were a lot of little challenges that came along, and we still have challenges as we go through today. Because media usage itself, in terms of digital media, has continuously changed. Initially, we would actually use for email. And then it transformed more into, browsing websites, browsers came along. And so display ads came along. But then again it shifted, started going towards search. Search became a big area, search marketing. And then from search it went into social media, which we are all aware of today. Mobility on social media. So this entire transition, each phase we've had to adapt to the market conditions, so which is again a big learning I think we should all take home, because standing where we are today and looking forward, I feel some of the things I want to share with you today is one big area that's coming up, which I feel is going to really drastically change the way we work going forward, is artificial intelligence. You might have heard of it. A lot of people talk about it. Like the other buzzwords you hear, whether it is, they come and go, but this one I believe is actually making a difference. I believe it is like the new internet. I mean, sorry, it has to be technology because that's my area. I'm sure other entrepreneurs will talk about other areas. I think what will happen is, what we learn all these years, all the specialty expertise that we gain, we will start teaching the machines, at least to the extent we can. And then what stays with us is our ability to adapt and our ability to change with changing needs of the workforce and changing needs of the marketplace, and the workforce has to adapt. So I think this generation coming out and starting businesses or getting into the workplace has to have a much more open mind than we did when we started. So this is the message I'd like to leave you with, and I'll be open to answer any questions after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you have many questions, but please save it for later. And we will go through the all four presentations, and after that we'll collect the questions and open the floor for the discussion. Okay, let me introduce the second presenter. Mr. Sorry for this. Managing Director and co-founder of Indian Infoline. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Stu. Thank you, Amitabha. And good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. And in my working life of almost, I think 27, 28 years, this is the first time I'm seeing so much of buzz or energy around entrepreneurship. 25 years ago, and I was discussing with Suresh, who was a batchmate in IIT. When we passed out of IIT, most of us wanted a job, and that was in a public sector undertaking. The moment you get a job in the PSU, you're very happy and you think that your life is done. Nowadays, nobody is interested in a public sector undertaking job. And if I ask, even do a random sampling of people in this room, I'm sure most of you will not even apply for a public sector job. So that's how the world has changed. I'll just quickly tell you about my own entrepreneurial journey. When I passed out of IIT as well as I am, the last thing I wanted to be was an entrepreneur. To be very honest, I wanted a job. I grew up in a very middle class background, and all I wanted was a good job. And my ambition was to buy a Maruti 800. That was the biggest thing. Now, most of you don't even know how a Maruti 800 looks like. And I was lucky that I got a job in financial services. And along the way in my working life, I could see what is happening to financial services. And somewhere in 1999, somewhere in 97, the internet was becoming very big. And there was an interview of Jeff Bezos, which had a very nice line, which I quote again. So he was interviewed in a BBC interview by, I think there was a BBC program called Hard Talk. And the famous line which stuck in my mind was that Jeff Bezos was doing very well. He left everything to start Amazon. And he made a statement saying that in my life the biggest revolution is going on, which is the internet. And I don't want to have something called regret minimization. So he talked about when he looked back upon his own life, and that time he didn't want to be a bystander in the internet revolution. He wanted to be a part of the internet revolution. I also wanted to be a part of the internet revolution, to be honest. I thought this is the biggest thing happening in my life. So it can't happen that such a big revolution is going on. I should be a part of it. So I was working in GE private equity that time. We used to invest in companies. So I had a friend who was a chartered accountant and MBA from Ahmedabad. So we were friends because it's coincidence that our offices were across the street. He was working in Hindustan Lever. I used to work in ICICI, and we were good friends. And we decided to do something internet. And I think Suresh very nicely said, in a journey of entrepreneurship, circumstances keep on changing. That's the only reality. And so you have to be smart enough to keep on changing yourself. You can't have a Hindi word called jid. You can't say that I am right. Jid works very nicely in movies and in love stories that I am very adamant in love. But practical life, you should be flexible. So I have made a small presentation in which I'll tell you about my experiences. And I just want to tell you, all of you, one thing is that all your journeys will be very different. All of you are uniquely customized. So your journey will be different. So all I can share you is milestones or some markers. But this is a journey you have to walk yourself, and you have to find answers to all the questions yourselves. If there were a textbook on entrepreneurship, then everybody will become Jeff Bezos. Unfortunately, there is only one Jeff Bezos. And second big picture message I want to tell all of you is the journey of entrepreneurship is very difficult. The odds are stacked against you. All of us want to be Jeff Bezos. He's the richest man in the universe, $150 billion US. Everybody wants to be Bill Gates. Once upon a time, the richest man before Jeff Bezos overtook him. Everybody wants to be Dhirubhai Ambani. Not a good name to say in this room, but because for all his achievements. And in spite of the way he did it, I still think he was a great entrepreneur. So, but the odds are against you. Remember one thing, the odds are against you because most of the startups fail. And it's in this room of potential entrepreneurs, I'm demarketing, but I want to give all of you a reality check that the odds are against you. But still you should do this journey for two reasons. One, whatever happens, whether you succeed or not, that's God's grace. But you'll become stronger, better and fitter after the end of the journey. You'll learn so much in your entrepreneurial journey that no job can ever compensate. And again, Jeff Bezos is my favorite person of this time of the year. And remember one more thing, he writes a very nice letter to shareholders. So in which he says, which is very nice, is that in life there are always doors rotating. Never in your life you'll have a closed door. So door is always rotating and most of the time you get out, the door is not working, you can always come back. So many people don't start an entrepreneurial journey because they think, फिर क्या होगा, job नहीं मिलेगा. If you're a man of marriageable age, शादी नहीं होगा. And if you're a girl of marriageable age, you say शादी नहीं होगा. And all this kind of things happen. But remember, life is a revolving door. You can always come back. And trust me, the entire business environment in India has changed. When we interview people, we look for people who have failed because failure teaches you many things. And so most of the time, we all look at failures with a very sentimental feeling. कि मैं fail हो गया. Nothing wrong. One failure, ठीक है, life goes on. But you learn. The trick in failing is to make sure that you learn and don't repeat the mistakes. So before that, I was in stock markets. I used to invest personally also. So that again, one more thing I learned from stock market is that you should not repeat the same mistake again and again. You're mentally challenged if you're repeating the same mistake again and again. You should make new mistakes because you keep on learning. But you can't die of the same thing again and again. It's not smart. So I'm assuming that entrepreneurs are smart. So we live, survive, and make mistakes. So all of us, when we start a business, we have what we imagination. So when we started our business, we had a very nice line because I'll just repeat the punch line to all of you. It is true in 1998, it's true in 2018, and it will be true in 2028 also. India is a growing economy. India's demographics is favorable. Indian economy is growing at about 7%. Add inflation 7%. It will be 14%. So the size of the economy triples every 5 years if you believe the rule of compounding. And typically in a growing economy, financial services grow faster than the real economy. So if economy is growing at 14%, financial services grow at 20%. And so you have a unlimited, unsated demand for financial services. Any parameter you look at, India is under-penetrated. Mutual fund penetration 3%. Loans to GDP about 40%. Look at affordable housing. In a country of 120 crores, we don't even have maybe 10-15 crores pakka houses. All of us, state of housing in the country. Look at roads, ports, cement consumption, any consumption, you look at it, we have a huge demand. So you are in a business where the runway is unlimited, huge demand. That is the real story, or the story we put in presentations, slides and all those things. Real story is very different. Real story is that you wake up one day in the morning and Yes Bank falls 40%. That's reality. So you wake up and from yesterday night to today morning, if somebody is holding Yes Bank, his net worth is down almost 40%. So this is a challenge which textbooks don't prepare for you. You have a signed term sheet from a venture capital investor. As he said, in 2000, .com burst happened. So the venture capitalist investor does not honor the term sheet. So you're back to business. You have a signed term sheet. You can take him to court. But then nobody takes a VC to court. You have a big contract to be signed and your key employee leaves. You can have floods. We had floods in Chennai, you have floods in Cochin, you had floods in Bombay. So many things keep on happening, and that's the real story. And so there is no fast track to success. You have to walk slowly, step by step, and push boulders up the hill to become successful. So this is something which you should be very cognizant. And remember that PPT pitches are on one side, and real life is very, if I can use the word, 180 degrees divergent from the presentation. This is one thing all of us forget, and money, at least in the Indian context, is not a liked word. In Indians, we are all Gandhian in our heart, so we say money. I don't want money. I want the things which I can buy for money, but money no, I don't want money. Because we are taught from our childhood that boss, money is very bad. You should study, and that's a very sad thing. Because if you don't respect money, if Lakshmi is the goddess of money. If you don't pray to her, you don't respect her, then she will also not like you. So my first message to all of you is that respect money, and at least and don't feel shy. If you want money, you should have the courage to say yes, I want to be rich. I had an ambition. I said in front of all of you, I wanted to buy a Maruti 800. So I had a statement. Yes, I want to buy a Maruti 800. Nothing wrong with it. My father didn't have a car, so he didn't have a scooter also. So I was very clear. I wanted to buy a car, and I was not so ambitious. I never set a target of BMW or Mercedes because I thought that was above my pay grade. But definitely 800. That's good ambition to have. So remember that you should respect money and you should calculate money every day of your business life. Because if you start making losses, sooner or later business will shut down. There are periods of human history where your losses in your P&L statement will be funded by balance sheet, which I mean equity money or money brought in by venture capitalists. But those periods are far and few in between. In my 30 years of working experience, I have seen very small periods, which is maybe 97, 98, 99, where there was a mad rush of paying money to .com companies. Maybe in 2015-16, there's a mad rush to pay money to fintech companies. Now if you're standing here and say, I have a mobile app, I have a fintech company, people will write 100 million checks saying, take the money and then we'll worry what will happen next. But those periods are far and few in between. In real life, you have to show what I call as EBITDA, operating cash flow. Those are the bad words which nobody likes. That is what you should be trained to. You should look at leveraging your balance sheet every day in the morning. You should look at how much money you make. You must track how much what are your operating cash flows. Because money to enterprise is what scoring goals to the game of football. And I'll just give my favorite example, which happened in the 1992 World Cup. And 1994 World Cup. Argentina played Brazil. If you see the match, almost of 90 minutes football match, 88 minutes Brazil had the ball. The entire match was played in Argentina's half. All it happened at one moment of brilliance, Maradona gave the ball to Caniggia and he scored a goal. And the score line read 1-0. Brazil out, Argentina in. All the good things they did, passing, showing good brilliance, everything useless because they didn't score a goal. So same thing I want to tell all of you that you have to make profits because profit is the lifeline of our business. Profit is what gives you respect. Profit is what sustains the organization. Everything else is good, but don't lose sight of cash flows and profits. My second message to all of you is that vision, don't fall in love with vision. Vision and all are very good statements, but real life is very different. If you fall too much in love with your vision statement, then maybe you'll forget the operating hard work. Because visions are very good statements, they are very noble. And for all of you who fall in love with vision statements, there was a very famous company called Enron. Read their vision statement and vision statement and keep it on your desk because that will tell you exactly how real life is different from vision statement and vision statements. They wanted to be the most noble company on the face of the earth and you know what happened to Enron. So don't overemphasize too much on vision because vision is a good statement. It is good for pitch documents. It's very good to inspire people. But real inspiration comes from when the tire hits the road, when your foot touches the road, and when you walk, meet the customer and do sales. And if you can't do sales, then maybe you should look for a different profession. So vision is 80% hindsight and 20% only foresight. I'm being very generous to vision because I'm in a college and professors are sitting. So if I make a statement, vision statement is useless, I'll get rotten tomatoes. And maybe 20%. You should know exactly whether I'm going from Goa to Bombay or Goa to Delhi. There are two different directions. But apart from if you know broadly direction where you are going, then don't worry, you'll broadly reach wherever you want to go. So don't emphasize too much of vision because I see so many of the young people I meet, they emphasize too much. They ask me questions about vision, mission, goal statement. And I want to disappoint them because I'm myopic. I was born with an eyesight defect. And I don't have vision. I don't care about vision. I know I'm in financial services, I do things properly. But I'm more bothered about meeting my monthly targets, monthly, quarterly targets, and how much sales I get. Vision, once I'm successful. And remember one very nice statement. people who are successful, only those people are asked their vision statement. In 1998, neither Amitabh, who's a very good friend of mine, I studied with him in the same hostel of IT, he wouldn't have called me to give a talk here. That's the reality. Now I'm successful, so now I have a listed company, so Amitabh also called me to give a talk. If I was not successful, then what? So you're asking a vision statement from a person who's successful. So obviously I can always turn back. You never asked me a vision statement in 1998. Half of you didn't even know. Even Amitabh, what? Because as I said, in serious note, my vision stopped at buying a Maruti 800. So there goes vision for you. This is one most important line I want to give, is the importance of focus. You should have focus, because otherwise all of us waste our time and energy in doing so many activities and we lose focus on the core activity. So you should focus, and when I say focus, when your entrepreneur company is very small, you should be focused on one activity. As you become more and more successful, you have more cash flows, more EBITDA, then you look at diversifying. But in general, when you're small, when you're running a tight ship, you don't try to do too many things, because if you too many cooks spoil the broth. So remember to focus on one thing, get success in that, and then look for other things. I met a very smart kid from Stanford, of all places, who told me, what focus you're talking about? Look at Google, they do everything. Yes, Google does everything, but remember they make tons of money from the core business of search engines. Once you have a core business, spewing tons and tons of cash flow, then you can do other things. But become Google first, become a dominant market leader, and then look to diversify. First, till your business stabilizes, focus. Don't lose focus. This is one more very interesting thing, is that about, at least among the young generation, they talk about work-life balance and other such noble things. If you remember, one harsh reality of life is that once you become an entrepreneur, forget work-life balance. Anybody who stands here and tells you that he is successful and he has work-life balance he's leading you down the garden path. Even now, and at least now we are very big, we employ 15,000 employees, so some people can do my job. But still, and I was supposed to come yesterday night, and so that Amitabh was supposed to buy me dinner. So I thought I'll come one day early, sleep, and then give my gyan in front of all of you. It so happened that unfortunately I had to attend a dinner which my partner was supposed to attend. He fell ill, so I had to go. So I had to cancel my plan. Then I woke up at 3 o'clock, took a bath, ran, caught the 5 o'clock flight, and came here. And I have a wife, I have 2 kids, all of them are shouting at me saying, why are you troubling all of us? But that's reality. That's work-life balance for you. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have to forget work-life balance. Work-life balance looks very good in textbooks, very nice in presentations of successful people. Remember one thing, Jeff Bezos, after $150 billion, can say anything. He can say sun rises in the west, and still all of you pay money and clap and support him. Say, God has spoken. So now he has every right in the world to talk about work-life balance, because he's been there, done it. Now, obviously, Amazon will run if he doesn't come on weekends to office. But when your own small office is there, when it's struggling, you have to come every Saturday, every Sunday, and you are the person who opens the door to the office and shuts the door to the office. If you don't have that mindset, then think maybe an MNC job is good enough. And the second thing is you have to love what you do. Because if you don't love what you do, then every day in the morning you'll wake up with a feeling in your heart, why am I doing this? What am I doing here? And all kind of feelings you'll get. Especially students who are struggling with end-term papers always wake up and say, why am I doing this course? Who asked me to take this course? So you'll have this existential problems. But if you love what you do, then you'll overcome them. Because if you can't overcome them, then again you'll have a problem being an entrepreneur. We went through many crashes, and we survived the dot-com burst, because a dot-com burst happened. Then in 2001 there was a scam in the company. We almost, our entire net worth got wiped out because of a single bad debt. We survived that. Then in May 2004 happened something which I had never seen in a working life, and I thought I was very good stock market analyst. Market fell 10%, market fell 20% overnight, and that had never happened to Indian stock markets ever. And that happened, and somehow we survived. Then we saw global financial crisis in 2008. We survived. And so crisis will happen. We saw, and this is a part and parcel of life. So, and I jokingly tell my friends and a partner that if you have 2-3 quarters which are good and no problem, then you worry. You start worrying because maybe something big is happening around the corner. You're not able to track it. So there'll be infinite crises in your life, and you should thank God for it, because every crisis makes you stronger. And if you survive the crisis, remember, 10 or maybe 50 or 60 of your competitors dying. So that your aim is that you have crisis in your life so that you can survive and someone else dies, because you get a stronger market position. And every crisis we survive, we emerge stronger, fitter and faster. So we survived 2001 when suddenly many .coms died, so we were there. We survived 2004 because many stronger brokers stopped paying to customers, we paid, so we became stronger. We survived 2008, many people died, we survived. So we have to keep on surviving and fighting crises one after the other. Remember one thing, you should have honesty of purpose. And if you have honesty of purpose, then you'll survive crisis after crisis, and you should not worry too much about it. And remember one thing, in life you'll get what I call is a Ferozshah Kotla. For all of you who understand cricket, Ferozshah Kotla is a pitch where Indian batsman goes and scores centuries. It's not like England where we lose 4-1 and come back. So in Ferozshah Kotla, everybody scores. So in your life you'll get a Ferozshah Kotla. And when you get a Ferozshah Kotla, that time you should have the guts to bet everything. Because it's no point taking risks when the odds are against you. You should take risks when the odds are in favor of you. And when the odds are in favor of you, you should be willing and have the courage of a conviction to bet the house. Because big money is made by big betting, not by doing small bets. And because you have to play with a double or quit mindset. Because if you can't scale up significantly, then you'll remain where you are. So we betted the house many times. First time we betted a house when the internet came. So that time we were having revenues of 1 crore. We sacrificed 1 crore and said that make everything free. In 2001, when brokerage rates were 100 basis points, we started a company with brokerage rates of 5 paisa, which is 5 basis points. In 2008, at the height of the global financial crisis, we started a new business. We started actually scaled up 2 businesses, both consumer finance as well as our wealth practice. So every time you should see the opportunity, and if the opportunity is good, go for broke. And that is not the time when you do like very gently doing cautiously. So, and you should be cautious when the odds are against you. And if you're not talking to me now whether I'll bet the house, I'll say no, now the economy is not, we should wait and watch and see what happens, because your elections are on the corner in 2019. So you can relax, 6 months nothing will happen. After 6 months, depending on what happens, then again you'll take a call, what's to be done or not. So you have to read the pitch very carefully and then decide whether to go on the aggressive mode or the defensive mode. The other thing is every time you scale up, you'll have challenges. Running a shop is different from running 2 shops, it's different from running 3 shops, it's different from running a mall, and then it's different from running maybe a massive conglomerate. So when you are very small, that time you have a massive urge to control. You will be controlling each and everything. I have personally gone through it. But there was one time in India Infoline when either me or my partner used to sign each and every check, physically. And I have a long name, so you can imagine how much time I should take every day to write checks. Because I could not trust anyone, and it is not that I'm not a trusting person. And just because you are scared that something will happen. There was a time when we used to give terminal limits. I used to personally sit in a terminal from 9:30 to 3:30 because I'm afraid that something will happen will blow the company. But that's the time you take a deep breath and realize that if you can't recruit good people, if you can't empower them, then you'll never scale up. Now when we speak, we have about 1,400 branches across the country. We employ about 15,000 people, and we are a big organization. And that successful scaling happened because we recruited smartly and we empowered smartly. And when you empower someone, there will be 1 or 2 rotten apples. That is a part and parcel of life. If you're lucky, you should consider yourself really lucky, and God has been very kind on you. If you have not met a crook in your life, you will definitely meet. There'll be a partner cheating you, there'll be an employee cheating you, the customer cheating you, and I've encountered all these things, so I can speak from my own personal experience. And the only thing is that, as I said, you'll make a mistake, don't repeat the same mistake, and make sure that you make a new mistake. So hire good people and empower them, because there's no point in hiring good people and not empowering them. It is like getting Virat Kohli to bat for you and then tell him, no, I'll tell you how to bat. It's wrong. If you get Virat Kohli to then empower him, then let him go and bat. And you should have the confidence in your own self that if Virat Kohli is in your team, learn to play the second fiddle. Don't be afraid, don't be embarrassed. In our businesses, most of the people we had, who are 10 years my junior are better than me. So when I go to a meeting with them, I present them proudly, saying that he's 10 years younger than me, he's smarter than me. First of all, the employee also feels very happy, and the customer also feels very happy. Yes, he's a man who is confident that he's letting his employee take the limelight. So you should have supreme confidence in yourself. If you don't have that, and if you're the nervous, insecure, or looking over the shoulder, then that's a personality trait you should change. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you'll have to recruit people and you have to empower people. Because if you don't empower people, then you'll not be able to scale up. As I said, we make mistakes, we record, we accept mistakes, and keep on correcting. Again, these are some of the other mistakes we have done, which actually cost us lots of money. There's one more thing I would like to tell all of you, because in our life, right from childhood, the way we are gauged or the way we are judged is that academic brilliance is rated very highly. It's an Indian trait. I don't know about other countries because I never worked outside of India. But at least in Tamil, I'm a Tamilian. In Tamilian, if you're a good student, you are rated highly. You're God's gift to mankind. I'm sure monks also had a similar trait. So I think Bengalis are similar to Tamilians. They think that maybe in Goa, if you can sing well and dance well, you're rated highly. But in Tamil Nadu, in my state, if you're a good student, if you're good in maths, science, IIT, God's gift to mankind. That is very good till you get a degree. After the degree, you should take the degree and throw it away. Because if you're an entrepreneur, humility is the most important skill to have. Managing egos is even bigger skill to have. And social skills are the most to have. If you can't have these people skills, social skills, and managing people's egos, if you're egoistic yourself, then you'll not be able to recruit good people, and then my previous slide falls. So the biggest thing which I've learned in life is that ability to communicate well, ability to handle people, ability to make sure that your team works together is far, far more important than your ability to solve a differential equation. If you can solve a differential, it's good, but it's useless. Because now the computer will do it for you much faster and better. Or maybe you can recruit a fresh engineer who will do it better and faster. But the ability to handle a customer, ability to handle a regulator, ability to handle what I call as your employees, because nowadays employees also like rock stars, so you have to handle their fragile egos. So these are the skills which are much, much more important than this. So you should get those skills. And one skill which is most underrated, and which is a sad reflection of our current society, is selling skills. Remember, as an entrepreneur, you are selling yourself every minute of your life. You are selling yourself to your customer, you are selling yourself to the regulator, you are selling yourself to the VC, you are selling yourself to the potential employee, you are selling on stunt, you are a sales machine. And if you are embarrassed of selling, and you think somebody else is going to do that, you will give only vision and mission and other such things. Then take a reality check, drink a glass of water, and maybe you're better joining some other organization. So sales skills, which is the ability to be shameless and call people again and again, boss, mera check de do, please, mera de do. That is the most important skill to have. I have personally gone through. Even in the hierarchy of sales, I have started at the bottom. I used to work as an institutional analyst in a company called JP Morgan. I used to think I'm God's gift to mankind. Then I became a retail broker, which is like falling from a Brahmin to a, now politically correct, I can't make the word, but you don't get what I'm doing. So I became like that because it's a retail sales. I'm from handling $1 million, I started handling 10,000 rupees. And you have to call that person, sir, please, aaj ek order de do. If you have not gone through that feeling of, sir, please ek order de do, that is a real learning experience. You have to sit in a call center. I've sat in a call center and sold insurance. Insurance salesperson is even below the. So I've done that. I've sat in a call center. I have the biggest sympathy for all call center people. Every time I get a call from a call center, I never cut the phone. I speak very nicely to the person. And I tell him, because I have sat in a call center and called. So you can't imagine the conditions under which they call. There are 50 people calling on your head, you get a headache. And because the reason I did this calling is because we had hired one of the greatest consultancy in the face of the earth to tell us how to do productivity boost. And they gave us a nice presentation. This is a productivity boost. And I was like, wow, so easy, nice. Productivity is not going up. Because I had also delegated to someone who had delegated to someone who had delegated service. So I thought I should go myself on the field to learn what it is. And then you know exactly how many policies can be sold in a month, because that's the truth. and no amount of spreadsheet, no amount of glossy presentations can override that. So the first thing to do is to become entrepreneur is to learn to sell. And if you can stand in Andheri station, distribute mutual fund leaflets, or if you can do a call shamelessly, and if you can tell a person, please mera le lo, then you're good to go. And my last line is most important. I started my presentation with a statement saying that it's all about money, honey. I end with saying that it's not about money. Although money is important for running the organization, in the end, the joy you get about giving jobs to someone, the joy you do to make transformation in society is much bigger reward than all this money you make. Money is a byproduct of success. Money happens, money comes, money goes. In Tamil, there's a statement that wealth is just dust in your hand. It can come anytime, it can go anytime. So you should not bother about that. But the impact you make on people's lives, I'm very proud that I stand in front of you, not because my company is listed or not because I make 1,000 crores of profit, but I'm very happy because we have transformed lives at the bottom of the pyramid. We have transformed lives of people who are graduates. Thanks to India Influencers, people have bought houses in Bombay who otherwise never got a chance to buy a house. Because they are ordinary people. When India Influence started, we could never recruit IIT-IIM. So we could recruit only BComs. That to people who come from, who nobody else gave a job, we gave them job because nobody else wanted to join us. Now we are in a privileged position that people want to join us. 10 years ago, nobody wanted to join. So you have to take with whatever you get and fight the battle. So you transform lives, and that's the biggest joy you can get. And remember one thing, which is written in one of the plaques of a company called Hindustan Unilever. Hindustan Unilever, for all those of you, is one of India's most respected companies. I think it's a great company. It's a classroom for doing in FMCG. So that Lever brothers who founded the company has written a line, which I don't recollect exactly, but I'll just quote, is that no business, however big, if done with dishonesty and with a mindset to cheat, is good. And any business, however small, done with sincerity of purpose, done with sincerity of purpose and for social good, is to be respected. So remember that when you're small also, if you do something business with sincerity of purpose and for doing something good, you should be proud of it. Thank you so much, and I'll be willing to
Goa, and actually I was born in a mango grove, in a coconut grove. So being born in a coconut grove, I was very much, my vision was in the clouds, and yet very much in touch with the ground. And I give a lot of importance to my vision, because that's precisely what set me on the path which I have been treading. I studied medicine, I became a doctor. I came again from a lower middle class family. My father was a school teacher. I started a hospital as soon as I became a doctor. But in the meanwhile, I did a lot of student activism during my medical college days. I started a hospital in Kalangut, ran it for about 7 years. And I must tell you, I was quite happy. Nobody forced me to become a doctor. I did it out of my own choice, and I still respected what I was doing. But then, something was missing. There was not enough challenge. And something else happened. In Kalangut, which is right on the beach, suddenly it became the queen of the beaches. And sort of foreign tourists started coming there. And almost 80% of my patients became basically tourists. And most of them were British tourists, and the only disease they were suffering from was loose motions. So the idea of spending my lifetime treating British loose motions was not very practical. And then I thought India has taken enough shit from the British for 150 years. So I didn't want to take any more. So then I decided that, well, I was always inclined towards art, but never ever thought that I will take it as my profession. But I started devoting myself to art, and I must confess to you, when I gave up my medicine and started painting, when I look at those paintings and whatever I was doing, actually today I am ashamed of them. Because you cannot shift professions just like that. You just become a doctor now, when you suddenly become an artist, it takes a lot of learning. And that's what I have been doing for the last 27 years. And I'm very proud to say that today I have one of the largest art spaces, contemporary art spaces in India, and that's Museum of Goa. Well, I must tell you why I started this. I must share with you my journey. I feel that art is very, very important. Actually, civilizations, it's one of the major foundations of human civilizations, art is. And in India, we are facing a very peculiar situation. When I'm talking about art, I'm only talking about visual art today, not other arts like music and theatre and cinema, visual arts. Because of certain historical accident, whatever you call it, because of the colonial rule and for many reasons, India is in a very, very special situation as art is concerned. I will do a little experiment with you. All of you are a highly educated crowd. All of you are very much aware of names like Amitabh Bachchan or Amir Khan in cinema. You are aware of John Lennon and you are aware of Lata Mangeshkar and all the music heroes. I will just tell you 10 names. Subodh Gupta, Sudarshan Shetty, Riyaz Komu, Krishnamachari Bose, Jitish Kalat, Vivan Sundaram, Vasudev Gaitonde, Francis Newton Souza, Shilpa Gupta. How many of you have heard these names? Please raise your hands. Yeah, I have in this, we have hardly about 4 or 5 people who have raised their hands. Now I would say a request to those who know the works of these artists very well, you raise your hands. So there is not one hand, okay, maybe one hand, yeah. Okay, some, okay. No, I'm not blaming you for not hearing of them or not knowing their work. This is because these are the artists which I just mentioned, who are the most important Indian contemporary artists. And they are as important as Amitabh Bachchan in his field or any other person, any artist in their field. But you have not heard of them for the simple reason that you never had an opportunity. You never had an opportunity to look at the works of these artists. And in a country of 135 crores, not more than 1 lakh people connect with contemporary artists. Not more than 1 lakh in the whole country of 135 crores. That's a very sad state. When I've given up my medicine and taken to art, I was scared. Am I going to do my work only for this 1 lakh people? Only these people are going to connect with my work? That was a very scary, very difficult thing to accept. And then I decided it is very important to break this cultural barrier and take art to the masses, to everybody, and that's how I started a museum, which is the Museum of Goa. So now I will just. This is Vasudev Gaitonde. This is Francis Newton Souza. Both of them are Goans, great visual artists. This is Raza. Now I'm going to show you some of the paintings. Now look at this, and this. You connect with it? Do you find it a good work of art? Whatever. I think most people in this country are fed with art of this kind, which is either calendar design or some Buddha or some flower. Most people feel that art is basically maybe a landscape or a portrait or a flower pot woman, ideally with a wet sari. So that is a kind of an idea of art in most people's mind. And now this work, now to just put it in financial terminology, this is a little sketch on a normal A4 size paper by Francis Newton Souza, sold for 3.2 lakhs. This is 21 crores, just a work which is this size. And Francis Newton Souza was originally from Goa, Saligaon, the village I stay right now. This is a work which is by Vasudev Gaitonde, another Goan artist. This is the work which has got the highest price in the art market for an Indian artist. It is 28 crores. I think Amitabh Bachchan never got 28 crores for one movie. This is Gaitonde's work was sold in Christie's auction 2 years ago for 28 crores. So just to give you also the financial aspect of art, this is 250 crores. This is a work by Turner, the English artist, and this is a work which is by Jackson Pollock, 1,360 crores. You can make 2 Zuari bridges with one work. And this is just dripping of colors. So now, this is, it's not just about art, I'm also giving you a little bit financial aspect of this because since this is a business, a kind of a entrepreneurship conference, of course I do believe that money is not the objective of entrepreneurship. For me, I get such tremendous satisfaction. You know, I sold a house for 3.5 crores at the age of 55. That is the only money I had, but in the meanwhile I also had built another house, and luckily my wife works at the university and she's paid well, so I could never starve. So now I decided to start this museum. Everybody advised me against it. They said, why are you nonsense? You're 55 years old going in and starting a museum. This is your money. Please live happily ever after. But I must tell you, I put all that money and started this museum, and I'm not living happily ever after. I'm living happier ever after. And this is such tremendous satisfaction because I wanted to use this poem at the end of my talk, but I'm going to use it at the beginning. If one has to find out whether a judge, what is the purpose of life? I think the purpose of life is to be happy, and there is no other purpose in life. And if you sort of do something which you love to do, there is a possibility that you'll be happy. If you do something which you do not like to do, you'll be definitely unhappy. So my sort of a guiding poem is a poem by Tagore. It says, when death knocks on your door and says your time has come, I shall tell death I never lived in time, I lived in love. And when death asked me, will your sculptures be remembered forever? I shall tell death I do not know, but when I created them, I felt eternity. Well, I'm going to just basically give a small presentation now. I decided now, when I did this museum, most people feel art is about the landscape or things, so I sort of decided I will do a contemporary art museum, but with a very, very clear curatorial ideology that I must connect with everybody. Everybody should be able to enjoy this. And then my another love is history. So I have created a museum where I narrate Goa's history using a contemporary idiom, which some of you will see this evening. But I'm going to show you a small clip just to demolish the idea of what art is. Okay. This is one of my favorite artists. Oh, I don't know why the video is not starting. Try one more time. If it goes, it's fine. It's some fun thing. Can you start it video? Just a video. Many of you, I mean, the Ganesh celebrations are just over, and a lot of firework is done. Many people are against firework because it causes pollution. But here's an artist who uses firework as a form of art. So I just wanted to share it with you. No, this is a black. This is a video. It's not that. Okay, fine. I think I will skip it. Unfortunately, they're not able to. I mean, okay. This is a small presentation about how I narrate history using art. And I must tell you that we get at the Museum of Goa almost about 200 to 250 people every day who pay a ticket of 100 rupees. And they are common people, and most of them have never ever been to a contemporary art space. All of them feel that art is essentially about what I told you about a landscape or a portrait. And they come and they enjoy it. And what we have done is we try to narrate Goa's history using contemporary art. Now here, this is a work where I created a form of moon using shells on a beach in Goa Vella, not too far from here. And then I waited. As you know, the moon is responsible for causing high tide and low tide. And we created a moon form. And then I waited for the high tide to come and drown my moon, the creator of the tide. These are mussel shells, which I planted on beaches. I have been planting mussel shells all over the world. Initially, when I gave up my medicine and started painting on the roadside watercolor landscapes, my patients thought, what is he doing? There's a nice doctor, good practice, what is he doing? Then they saw me planting shells on the beach. And they thought, this is pura kaam ka gaya. They thought that I have to be admitted in a mental hospital because an idea of an ex-doctor planting shells on the beach. But I must tell you, I gave this entry to the Busan Biennale, Sue's place, and I was given some 8 lakhs rupees as a prize for this work. Yeah, planting shells. So I planted shells also in Busan, in our country. This is in Denmark. So I have sort of become an ambassador of the Republic of the Mussel Shells of India, and I go planting them all over the world. Yeah, and why do I plant shells? Now, what has history to do with this? I must tell you that if we consider our culture as a sculpture. Who is a sculptor? I basically believe that the ocean is a sculptor, because ocean is a highway of culture. The ocean, there is a medium of intercontinental cultural diffusions, and the oceans have brought so many things on the shore. It brings religion, like Christianity came here, Hinduism went from here to Sumatra, Java, Buddhism went from here, Islam came from Arabia. So ocean is a highway of culture. The food came, and all these aspects of ocean we celebrate in our museum. India has a coastline of 7,500 kilometers, but if you ask anybody in India, where would you like to go for a beach holiday? It's always Goa, and we have just 100 kilometers. So I basically celebrate oceans in this work. Then I thought I will do a collaboration with the oceans, sign a memorandum of understanding. So I also do sign a memorandum of understanding, but I do that with the ocean. And here, these are objects which I create, and I put them at the bottom of the ocean for 2 years. And then the oyster shells develop on it. So this bottle has been under the ocean for 2 years. These are plates which are from old Portuguese plates and Chinese plates which are about 200 years old, which I put in a cage, and the cage is lowered at the bottom of the sea, kept there for 2 years, and the oyster shells develop on it. So this is the kind of work I do in collaboration with the ocean. This is called the ocean comb. Ocean has played, as I told you, an important role in history of Goa. And in India, we had Arab ships coming to Indian coast right 2000 BC during the Harappan period, because we have the Lothal, which is one of the oldest ports in the world. And so I decided to celebrate that, and I was invited to do a sculpture in Dubai during the Dubai Art Fair, and I created sculptures out of boats from Goa and took them in containers to Dubai. So this is next to Burj Arab. These are boat sculptures. This is the historical moment of 20th of May in 1498, when Vasco da Gama arrives in Kappat, in Calicut, in Kerala. And he meets the king there, who is called Zamorin in all world history books. But actually there was nobody called Zamorin who ever existed. His name was Samudra Raja. And because the Portuguese could not pronounce that, he was made Zamorin, and that's what continues. Portuguese have changed names of many people. But here, this historical sort of anecdote changed a lot of things in what we eat. For example, India, you will be surprised to know, did not have chilies. Chilies come from Brazil, and the Portuguese brought them. So Goa has been a gateway for many food items which came from Brazil, because those days when the ships went from Lisbon, they could not go along the coast of Africa to Cape of Good Hope. They had to go to the west, turn almost to the south pole, and then come up to the Cape of Good Hope, because the winds and the currents made that necessary. And here if you see the dresses in the month of May, 20th of May, in Kerala it's about 40 degrees. And the king is wearing his topless, and Vasco da Gama is wearing too much. And that habit has continued. When I go to marriages in Goa in the month of May, I only go to say sorry or to sympathize with the bridegroom who is wearing three-piece suit. Yeah, that's Pepper Cross. When Vasco da Gama arrives there, he sends somebody to the shore to check up what kind of a reception is awaiting. And there are a lot of convicts are there on the Vasco da Gama ship, and one of them is João Nunes. João Nunes is asked by Vasco da Gama to take a small boat and go and check up what is happening. If he's killed, he's killed. He's a convict. He's dispensable. So João Nunes goes to the coast of Kappat and meets two Tunisians. And the Tunisians ask him in pure Spanish, what the devil brings you here? And he answers, we come for pepper and we come for Christ. We come for pepper and we come for Christ. So this is a work which is called Pepper Cross. It is done with the hull of a ship, and there are textures of pepper on the whole sculpture. This is the last work I'm going to show you, essentially to tell you how contemporary art can be utilized for narrating histories. Now, in Goa, when the Portuguese came in 1510, they came again for pepper and for Christ, and they demolished almost every temple here in the old conquest, which was just Bardes, Salset and Tiswadi. And they kept a record of every demolition. And the record exists. And the Hindus carried their gods in the two rivers, in Zuari and Mandavi. And the Zuari and Mandavi rivers meet at a point called Banastari. And you will be wondering why all the temples in Goa are in Ponda. That's because the gods were carried there and the new temples were set up here. So when I'm talking about this, you must remember that I'm talking history. I'm quite a great friend of present-day Portuguese and the Christian community here today. So this is only history I'm narrating, because many people feel that I belong to them. Well, so this is what I decided to do was, in Bible there is a story of Noah's Ark, where God intervenes to save mankind. In Goa, it happened the other way around. There, but anyway, this is a boat where I have all the gods of Goa in the boat, and there's a platform which moves, which rocks. You can even take gods for a rock. Yeah. So, thank you very much for giving me a patient presentation, and most welcome to the Museum of Goa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kekar. The fourth presentation is my presentation. My name is Suhyam Burek, and before I start my presentation, let me just drop some words, introduce myself. I originally come from South Korea, but I have a kind of hybrid identity. I studied in Germany, Denmark, and I did my PhD in Sweden. And now I'm working as an independent business consultant in Germany. And my role as a business consultant is just bridging between three countries, not only between Germany and Korea, but also Denmark, where I live very close to. And I am very interested in how the knowledge transfer, how the knowledge moves from one person to another or one organization to another. Also in the field of sustainable energy and automobile industry, where the Germany and Korea are very good at it, but also creative industry, especially on how creative entrepreneurs do their cross-border businesses in different places. So this presentation is about Korean film and TV industries, and I would like to share some very unique developmental paths. This is a symbol of Hallyu phenomenon. Hallyu, it literally means Korean wave. The Chinese first coined the new term Hallyu, and they used it to refer the rise of Korean culture product in outside of Korea. So it's Hallyu, Korean wave, simply means Korean culture product became very famous outside of Korea. And it started in 1997 with exporting a Korean drama series to China, and it was a huge hit at that time. So it started from the television drama series, but also movies, music, video games, even fashion, food, tourism, and also language became very popular. But it's mainly the phenomenon, it's mainly concentrated in Southeast Asia like China, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong. But also recently all the other parts of the world, you can observe the phenomenon, how it is very rapidly spread. So after this phenomenon, you can see 1997 that they started the export, Korean TV program export just exploding. Increased dramatically, and also TV sales and export. The latest statistic from 2012 to 2016, when you take a look at it, this tendency is still there. It's not that dramatically increasing, but still increasing constantly. And also the TV industry is growing. I'm not going to go into the details with the data, but you can see the numbers of establishment. We have over 900 TV production companies in Korea. And also number of employees is like 43,000. And also for the film industry, it's like a half, like 20,000 employees are active in the film sector. And also export number and the sales, total sales are growing still. Also film export is doing very well. Sorry, there are some Koreans to see. But you can see the gray points. There are the total sum of export, Korean film export, US dollars, and also the number of exporting film is still increasing since 2014. And not only about the global market, but also film industry, Korean film industry is doing very well in the domestic market. I think probably in India is also very well, currently doing very well. When you take a look at the total admission, Korean film was always higher than foreign film since 2012. So many people prefer to go to the cinema to watch Korean film rather than Hollywood blockbusters. Yeah, and also sales are increasing, and in the end, not only in the Korean domestic market, but also it has built a cluster, some clusters. That means geographical concentration, where many Korean film or TV production companies are located in. And here in the middle is the Seoul, when you can see Seoul, where everybody lives. It's a mega city with 11 million inhabitants. There are main companies or headquarters of Korean broadcasting systems and also film productions. But around Seoul, we have 23 million inhabitants, and there are the pink spots are newly developed clusters where people and very small startups are located. So you can see here the global expanding take place outside of Korea, but within the Korean domestic market, those TV and film productions are still growing. But how did it happen and how it was possible? This is my main question. Yes, Korean government is behind the scene, play a very important role. This is the latest OECD data. When you take a look at it, R&D spending on Korean government is the highest, second highest in the OECD country. So Korean government, they play a central role, and they think the creative industry can be a fundamental element of Korean economic development, and they spend a lot of money on R&D. So different kind of Korean governments, and during the 1993 to 2008, they provided diverse supporting policies which support Korean film and TV industry. For example, the Kim governance from 1993, 1997, they allowed chaebols, like the large conglomerate like Samsung, LG, Hyundai, allowed to get into the film industry. Before that, they were not allowed to get into the film or media industry at all. But they opened the gate to get into the larger players in the market. And the second government, Kim's government, also supported the combination of ICT and technology with Korean film and TV industry. So now at the end, Korean film, for example, film industry has, I think, the second highest developed technology when you talk about the post-production of the film. So computer graphic and audio special effects with which you can make by computer programs, I think Koreans are doing very well. So you can see here, on the one hand, the government provided different support policies to support Korean film and TV production and expanding their business outside Korea. And on the other hand, there are some global players. So as I told you, we have chaebols, like those are the four major large players in Korean film and TV industry. And these large conglomerates, they diversified their global pipeline channels to China first, where Korea and China, they share very similar culture and language, so it was very easy to get to access. So they expand their co-productions, and they also launched joint ventures. I can give you a very good example. For example, Korea's new entertainment world, in short name NEW company, started a joint venture with Huas Media Group. Huas Media Group is the biggest media group and conglomerate in China, and they launched a joint venture. That means they produce together, they sell together, and they also share 50% revenue together, review together. So they, in total, this joint company produced 8 films in Korean and Chinese language. Maybe you may think 8 films, co-production films, is not that many, but Chinese government, they only allowed 43 co-production films per year for foreigners. So I think it's over 20% in total. So I think a quite successful result for joint venture in China and Korea. So you can see here, not only the government side, but also private sectors, they gave some enormous effort to expand their business outside Korea. Started from China, but also now Japan and also all of the Europe and Latin America is very successful. So here I don't want to mention the names, but there are some investors, directors, and producers. They started their own business in China. And nowadays, the technical service sectors are very demanded in China. So some transnational entrepreneurs, the Korean entrepreneurs, they moved to China and start their own business. And now they are pendling between China and Korea. For example, art stunting or special effect or computer graphic companies or sound companies. So you can see on the right side of the picture, this one entrepreneur, they started their own business in China with 3 employees, but now they have over 700 employees. They are only responsible for post-production for the films. So here you can see from the Korean entrepreneurs, I would say transnational entrepreneurs between Korea and China, you can see how do they expand their business across the border and with what kind of strategy and based on what kind of support policies from the government side. So what I want to tell you is that doing business depends on the entrepreneur itself. What kind of method, what kind of strategy do they apply? But on the base level, I think the government support is so important to take care and nurse this kind of endeavor. And what I would like to say, this is my last slide, what I would like to say to Indian or especially Goa regional government to say this, that what I found Korea did very well is that they just changed their perception very quickly. During the 1970s and 80s, Korean film was a propaganda film. And Korean government saw the film and TV programs as a objective of censorship or political control tool. But since 1997, the business is booming and expanding. The Korean government, just right after this success in China, they just changed their perception on film and TV industry, and they realized that it can be a fundamental element of the national government, a national economic development. So they provide aggressively the financial support and also political support. I think it has some lessons to the Indian government who also want to support regional businesses for expanding outside of Goa or outside of India. Okay, thank you for listening.
This question is directed to the gentleman of Lycos, who's given his talk. In today's world, a lot of digital marketing is used. And if an entrepreneur has a lot of skills and abilities to do business, but is lacking in this technical field, is it possible, is it safe enough to hand over a contract to outsource the job to somebody and yet be successful in the business?
Yeah, I want to expand a little bit about what is going on in digital marketing from Indian perspective today. When you talk about advertising, you want to take a product, and the product needs to be presented to people who want that product or service. And there is a fundamental underlying message that you want to put along with the product, called positioning or whatever you want to call it. And that is usually done very well by ad agencies. They're very good at coming up with the right messaging. And the digital specialists are good at propagating it through the system, whether it is social media, Facebook, and such. And there is a big gap. The people who know how to propagate it, but the message is not right. I think as a business owner, if you don't have an ad agency helping you with the right messaging, it will be money spent and wasted. So you have to be very careful about the right messaging. As an example, just take a political example people will relate to. When Narendra Modi, for example, was getting into a political campaign, He said, "Ab ki baar Modi Sarkar." That is the message. It doesn't matter where all you send it, but the message was so powerful, it caught the imagination of people. Same way when you're coming up with the messaging for your product, that part would still be, the onus is on the business. How you send it, how you push it to what all different channels, that you can use it on outside digital areas. Don't expect them to do this part as of now. I think that is where I feel there is discrepancy today. And if you want to talk further, we can talk offline. But that is the only thing that you need to watch out for, because they're only good at the technical aspects. They're good at doing the visual effects. But if you don't have the message right, if you don't have your positioning right, you'll be wasting money. So that's what you need to watch for. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. You are large experience.
Okay, we can talk further.
Any other questions?
Check. All right. A question to Mr. Reddy once again is what kind of, when you spoke about making online greetings a viable business, what kind of traffic were you talking about on the internet, to kind of generate incomes from e-greetings?
Yes. Compared to today, they were much, much smaller. And, I'm talking 98, 2000, that time frame. I have to go back and see. I think we were doing close to 20 million views a day, something like that. And but to get to that, also there was a lot of intrigue and interest, and there were very few people offering it. So that advantage was there with us. And today, if you launch, I hear a lot of youngsters come out and say, "I'm going to create this product, the world will notice." It doesn't happen like that. So you need to have strategies of differentiating and strategies of propagating. Unless you have that right, that would be a danger. Because you imagine something that, it's such a useful product, people will definitely use it. But if they don't know about it, how are you going to get the product out? So 20 million is the number.
Just to ask you a second question on that, when countries like India, where people depended on cyber cafes to access the internet, did you kind of budget, or did you kind of think of those kind of numbers, or was that your target?
See, it was, I'd be lying to you if I say that, I had clear targets. It was a frenzy. To be honest, we knew our product, and we put the product out there, and we saw traction, and then we started doing more work around it. And we were looking at what is working, what's not working. It was not very clear on this is the goal, this is the number of page views we need to reach, or anything of that sort. We are only focusing on day-to-day work, and day-to-day interesting content was what was driving it. So we were making funny, interesting greeting cards that people would love to exchange. A lot of them were fun jokes that people would exchange. So then whatever worked based on that, we would shift more emphasis on that. So that's kind of a very iterative process, like any other marketing today. If something is working, then you start pushing more in that direction. So that's kind of how we did it.
Thank you. And I think I have one last question to Mr. Reddy. Is in 1998, when India, when people would trade with share certificates, and
Mr.
sorry, Mr. Venkatram. When India would trade with share certificates, and today when IFL actually offers an almost an e-commerce platform where you can put your equity into a cart and buy and sell. So how easy or how difficult was it, to make these transitions and to try to reach out to different kind of client or customer base?
To be very honest, we benefited from the Dematerialization Act. So when I started my career in stockbroking, those days physical certificates were used. But by the time 1998-99 happened, SEBI had mandated that entire settlement should happen on a demat mode. And so in the beginning, there was two modes of settlement, at least sometime till 1999. But by 2000, 2001, the entire settlement in India used to happen on demat. So that was a big advantage for us, and we definitely benefited from that.
There was a question from the gentleman middle.
Yeah, this is not. This is not. It's not a question. Yeah, this is not a question, but I just wanted to relate an incident in a lighter vein. Am I allowed to do so?
We cannot hear you.
Hello. Yeah, this is not a question, but it's just I would like to relate an incident in a lighter vein. Am I allowed to do so? This is not a question, but it's an incident I would like to relate in a lighter vein. Am I allowed to do so? Yeah. We were staying in a resort called Aldea de Santa Rita in Kanduri many years back, my wife, my kids and I. And as we entered, we had to fill in the register. So I wrote my name, Dr. Gustav Pinto. And at about 1 or 2 in the morning, late at night, somebody came banging my door. Doctor, please wake up, please wake up. We have a patient we would like you to see. I was quite disturbed because it was late at night, and I asked, don't you have a doctor here on call? They said, of course we do, Dr. Subodh Gerkar. So I said, then why don't you call him? And they said, no, it's too late now since you're here and you're a doctor, why don't you treat this lady? So anyway, I went and we found this good-looking lady, foreigner, who was unwell. And I asked her, where do you come from? And she said, I'm British. And I asked her, may I know what's your problem? She said, loose motions. So then the first thing she said, please, no injections. And I thought that saved me. I had some tablets, which I gave to her. I gave her some syrup, and she was quite happy. I went to sleep. At 6 o'clock in the morning, she banged the door again. Doctor, wake up, wake up. I said, what happened? No, she said, I want to thank you. She gave me a hug, she gave me a kiss, a lot of chocolates, and she thanked me and she told me she was fine. And only after she had left, I told the resort people, do you know? I said, I'm a vet.
Thank you. Do you believe that in some countries, or even India, as the development index goes up and as people become more practical and more busy, do they have time for culture? Because what I've seen in some countries, which I visited, people complain that how people have gone off the traditional mode of cultures like music, art, drama, and television stuff, and they have I'm not sure if Venkatraman and Suresh Reddy have time for art. So is it how challenging it is for you as an artist to evolve and to get a traditional form of arts sellable, and how you see a future of such art?
Yeah, I think I will answer that question by telling you a little story. In Bhopal, they started something called Bharat Bhavan. This Bharat Bhavan was started by Ashok Vajpayee, who was the Secretary at that time of Culture, and Charles Correa designed it. And this was one of the most important art institutions in the whole country, coming up in Bhopal. The inaugural exhibition of this Bharat Bhavan, Ashok Vajpayee planned 2 exhibitions. One exhibition was of the contemporary abstract artists of India, which included Raza, Gaitonde, Swaminathan. And the other exhibition was an exhibition of the tribal art of Madhya Pradesh, because Madhya Pradesh have a lot of tribal artists. So, since it was an important building, a lot of educated people, businessmen, important people came for the inauguration, and because a lot of tribal representation was there in one exhibition, a lot of tribals came. Now, most educated people stood in front of the work of Gaitonde and Raza, which were abstract works, and said, what is the meaning of this? We don't understand. Now, a tribal did not ask such a question. The tribal stood in front of the abstract paintings and said, wow, nice. That's because the tribals are not separated from art, they live art. Art is part of their life. Art is not something to be bought from somewhere and hung in the wall. Art is their dance, their costumes, their jewelry, their paintings on their wall. All of this is part of their culture, and they are like children, unconditioned. And I think it is very important to connect with art. Unfortunately, because of many factors, we are going further and further away from art. But if you really are able to appreciate art like tribals, make it part of your life, I can ensure you will be a happier person.
Thank you very much. We are running out of time, so we are closing the session Creative Industry. Thank you very much for your contribution. If you have any questions, you have still opportunity over lunch. You can ask personally to the presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borg.